excited to have you as our guest for Training Thursday. I know there's a lot of familiar faces in here and everyone's really pumped.
Yeah, like I see the pictures and I'm like, oh, I feel like I just know everyone that's here. Like no one's going to learn anything because they all know me.
There's a good crew, good turnout too. I'm excited. So this will be great. So Lindsay, I mean, I know a lot of us know a lot about you, but maybe just for everyone here, just share a little bit about kind of maybe your background, how you got into marketing, and a little bit about yourself now.
Yeah, so for anyone who does know me, especially most of you on this call, you can just like tune out. I went to school for commerce. I went to Carleton for a year and I realized it wasn't a fit for me. So I went to Algonquin for interactive multimedia design, which is a 2-year program. And coming out of that, you learn basically like, I always joked that it was like learning the Adobe suite. Like we would just open a new Adobe program in each class, but we came out knowing design, coding, photography, videography, all that good stuff. So leaving that program, we had an internship, and I forget how long it was, probably like 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Yeah. So I came out of school looking for, I remember scouring the web trying to find spots that my classmates weren't applying to because I was like, I'm not as good as these people, so I need to find spots. So started an internship at Seo Plus because it was a good size agency at the time. And I remember wanting to go there or come here because it was small enough at the time that I knew I could try different things, not really be in a box of like, okay, you are doing X and that's all you do all day. Working for you for 6 weeks and like with it, and pivoting off of web design and development into SEO. So had that position for a while at Seo Plus, and then project management, which was great, account management. So worked really closely with Derek and a lot of people on this call. Account manage. I was probably too stressed out for account management, so went back into more so digital strategy. Held a lot of positions. And I think coming out of Seo Plus, I had a really well-rounded skill set in digital marketing. Been working on so many different client accounts and like from big to small campaigns. So it was, that's how I got into it. But yeah, working for you, Brock.
No, I mean, I remember I think at the time we were maybe 7 or 8 people. And I remember the first time meeting with you and we were in the back at U-Haul in the little storage units, and I remember, you had long hair at the time and you had these basketball tournaments, you're coming up and stuff like that. And no, it was great. And I remember you coming in and really just being scrappy with the website, just kind of figuring it out, right? And that was something that really stood out about you, is just like how dynamic you were, being able to, just kind of take on whatever it was and figure it out.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's a really important skill to have.
Yeah, especially for small agency, because I remember, first story though, I was thinking about how I got my start last night, and I was like, I remember when I came in and met you, you were wearing like a Roots hoodie. And then I was like, okay, getting ready for my first day at work. And I was like, okay, like he was wearing a Roots hoodie when I met him. So like, I'll go like business, but like casual, a little bit of a mix. And then the first day I came in, you were wearing a full suit. And I was like, I've never seen you in a full suit since that day. But
no, that was one time. It was probably an award ceremony or something like that. So what now? So you're at Invest Ottawa now. Tell us a little bit about what's going on there.
Yeah. So Invest Ottawa, and I still feel like I'm like at an agency with Invest Ottawa because there's so much going on. I know you guys chatted with Sonia too, so you've got a good idea of what's going on there. But we've got programming for, those small scrappy startups that are, in tech or in not tech too now with digital Main Street programming coming up. And then we've got programming for, global retention and expansion, where we're looking at, multinationals and expanding companies in Ottawa or bringing companies internationally back into Ottawa to expand. Then give you yards with the prototyping lab, the event rental space, their meetup programming. So in terms of what I'm doing there it's kind of everything. Like I said, it does really feel like I'm at an agency where I've got like my list of clients. There's just no like immediate threat of like them firing me or something.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? You have, it is similar to an agency because you have so many different programs, different goals or KPIs, right? Different timelines, and managing all that. It's not easy, right?
Yeah, and like there's more of us now on my little team, but we're managing all the paid campaigns, all the analytics, all the websites, and we've got a pretty good network of websites too, which is kind of crazy. So it's similar to agency where you'd come in and be like, oh, this website got hacked or this plugin broke, and we still have that sort of thrill in our day, but then also pulling up reporting for people, running paid campaigns, quoting out where we think things should go based on their objectives, setting those plans. So it's a very mixed bag of what we're doing. So below me, I've got, graphic designer, web designer, developer now, and another multimedia designer. So we're producing a lot of content, but also marketing it. And taking on bigger projects too, based on funding. So like digital Main Street's been crazy because we're doing so much marketing in that too, like all over the spectrum. Like we're having calls with Pattison about like transit ads and stuff like that, which is super cool and stuff that I hadn't done before. So it'll be interesting to see sort of an end-to-end, holistic marketing strategy that's even going off digital and going into more traditional realms.
Absolutely. And there tends to be crossover, especially with the bigger campaigns. And this one, the digital marketing program, like tell us a little about that for people who don't know.
Yeah, so Digital Main Street was basically a response to the pandemic. So the federal government has basically created a funding account for Digital Main Street, which is what the program is. And we're helping Main Street businesses, how we refer to them as, but basically like brick and mortar stores and non-tech businesses. But really we're helping everyone either digitize their business. So if I have a storefront, let's say, and I've never had a website or I didn't have e-commerce capabilities, you can get a free website through the programming. Through the future-proof side of things, you can also get like meetings with digital squads. So we've got small teams, and they're all students basically. They're fresh out of school or still in school, and they'll help you get your analytics set up, your paid campaigns. We've got connections with Google as well to get ad credits, which you can get in most cases, but they'll set you up with that sort of account. And then we've got webinars, different like roundtables too, to even meet with these businesses and say like, how can this program further benefit your business? And we make pivots based on that. There's grant opportunities as well for businesses to get funding. But it's all focused on getting these businesses digitized so that if there's a second wave or another pandemic or whatever, God forbid, but they are ready to sell online and ready to continue to pull in revenue so they don't have to lay people off so that our economy can keep going.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And I know they had kind of a previous iteration of this program with Main and Digital, which you were involved with as well. Yeah. And I know for me, like the what was most rewarding about it, and the thing that really stood out was the collaboration between everyone. So when you got in a room with 30 entrepreneurs, the ways that people can help each other in, we have this program for our shipping and you don't pay shipping costs. Well, I didn't know that. Like, right. Those little discussions that come out of it, like sometimes are the most impactful, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it was so funny too, because I had just taught a Main Digital workshop in like January or February. I taught them, like arm prior and stuff. And it's always so interesting to hear the questions that come up. Like they're always the most engaged audience, which is cool. Because like I teach at college still, and like my students are not engaged in the slightest, but these like question, like show me this, tell me this, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So they're such a joy to teach, and they're always so engaged, and they want to go digital. They just need that help and the push to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. I find typically they are, smaller businesses who don't have the funds or the wherewithal to hire a team, a marketing team, or any of these things, technical team. They're kind of just trying to figure it out themselves, right? And any of these little tips or programs can go a long way.
Yeah, and again, the hope too is at some point when they've got the marketing budget set aside too, that they get into bigger campaigns and they've got that marketing allocation each year too, that they can go to an agency and get all that help from there. But that's definitely a good jumping off point for them, because we've all seen it now where we like I was like emailing bars at the beginning of the pandemic, be like, are you selling bottles of gin? And I need a dinner made. And they do like stuff, right? So they need the infrastructure now so that it's more automated. They need the workflows internally to process all that. So it's a really cool program, and it's changing like daily. Like we're always making pivots as to what's going on with it. So it's cool. It's still early days, but I think in the next couple months, it's really gonna explode, and there's going to be a lot of businesses with some cool online stores and digital marketing plans.
Absolutely. So nowadays, I mean, you're managing a team, working with a lot of different, campaigns and whatnot. What's your favorite thing to do right now? Like, is it sitting on the meetings? Is it strategizing? Is it the nitty gritty? Is it, coordinating? What is it?
Well, I think coming into Invest Ottawa, because I had gone to a Crown Corporation in between both, Seo Plus and Invest Ottawa. When I first started, I really just wanted to like break something. Because I had
to break this WordPress site.
Disable all the plugins and then fix it. So that was super nice to just get into actually like, which I think would make a lot of people nervous, but I was like, this is great. Like, love this. Now it really is putting together that end-to-end strategy that I enjoy. And that's what I really enjoyed too at, when I was at Seo Plus at the end. And with this, like we talked about, there's so many different audiences that we're serving. So if I sit in a meeting with one coworker, the strategy is going to look completely different for another meeting. And you guys know that too, given the projects that you're working on with us, that it's like, one website audience is so different. It's like a scrappy startup audience versus another audience, which is, big multinationals that would be coming in and using a service that we offer. But yeah, the end-to-end strategy has always been my favorite, so that you can holistically put it together and then put out stuff and test and iterate and make adjustments from there.
Absolutely. And I think you brought up a really good point of like, I think sometimes maybe people take it for granted or whatnot, but I know with us, the ability to kind of pitch in different areas, and you're not boxed in, right? You really have the opportunity to deliver value in any way possible. It's something that maybe you don't realize till after, maybe you go somewhere else and you're like, okay, you can only do this one little thing. Don't go beyond that,
Yeah. No, I couldn't break a single thing at my middle job, and it was a great spot to be. But at that point, like where I am in my career, I'm like, no, I still need to be a little bit reckless. Like I can't just focus on one thing. So, you and I have had this when we work together, right? Like we come out of thin air and be like, let's do this thing that we've never done before. And we try it and we're like, this is cool. Let's try it again. Or let's do something else. Especially given the depth of clients that you guys have with you, like they're so different, the strategy between each client.
Well, that's the thing, right? The depth, the types of clients. And for us, I mean, we still kind of have the local clients, the e-commerce, and then the kind of national SaaS type companies. And each one has different requirements, different levels of like being technical, right? Some have teams, some don't. So it's challenging sometimes managing that, right? And knowing which client needs what. It all comes down to communication and listening to the client, understanding like, what do you need? And, giving them attention too, right?
Yeah, the attention. And that's still, even as an internal department, like the attention and still having those touch points with my clients is still so relevant. Because I remember, being at the beginning of the month, making sure all the clients got their reporting and their videos and all that good stuff. It's still very much relevant now, where it's like, if I haven't heard from a client or a coworker for a while, I'm like, oh no, I should really touch base, or call. What have you been doing for me? And you're like, oh my God.
Usually it's just a world where there's so much going on that everyone's trying to hold on to their hat, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you're like, no, I was doing stuff. I just like my email. Like, I'm sorry. All your analytics. Here you go.
So now, I mean, you mentioned you're managing a team. Like, do you have like a best tip? Anything that you're really focusing on right now for managing a team?
Got really into like agile as our project management style. So we are like doing sprint plan every week.
Hey, Lindsay, sorry, I think I lost your mic there.
Oh, there we go. Good now? Awesome.
Yeah.
We got into sprint planning and sort of agile as a project management. So we've got a spreadsheet that we all, and again, like by we all, like I force everyone to do this, but you have to put in all your meetings for the week. all your tasks, how many hours it's going to take, priority, all that good stuff, so that we know how much we have on our plate and how much more we can take in. Because it's, especially internal, there's so many meetings coming in, and not even just internal, like in every job that's super busy, like you could say yes to 10 things, but you really only have time to do 5. So we do that a lot now, where we're prioritizing and pushing stuff off our plate. And then we have the visibility to on who we're servicing the most. So kind of like how, you know, you track your time in Salesforce, right? We're doing that just manually through a spreadsheet. And then we know I can't take any more work this week. We have to push this task off to next week. Or what can we take in and what can we push out? So that's what we're doing as a team now to make sure we're prioritizing stuff. That's my big thing for managing a team right now, which isn't really like come to work with a positive attitude or anything like that.
Yeah.
What are your tasks in the spreadsheet? I need to know what
more technical focus.
Yeah.
So that's agile. So tell me a bit about that. Like, how have you kind of picked that up? Is it just through work? Are you doing any courses or anything like that? Like, how does that work?
So my time at the Crown Corp, they were full agile in their marketing department. They have a team of 60 with different squads. So like daily stand-ups, and I was in, I think, 3 stand-ups or scrums each day. And they were using Microsoft Azure to manage all of that. So in my time there, it was pretty quick, like 6 months, I really took into their system of managing, because they had like contractors, you know, overseas that were doing work for them, and we had people in Toronto and people coming in, like so many dynamics feeding into a big project. And at that point they were doing a digital transformation, and still are. So really the processes they implemented were pure agile, and they had like scrum masters that would be in a meeting and be like, you're talking too long on this, like next thing. The keepers,
timekeepers, right? Timekeepers.
Yeah. And making sure that you're, you know, staying on topic, like, no, you're talking about what you're doing tomorrow. This is daily stand up. So really taking what they had implemented and adjusting it to what makes sense, especially for what we do. So like, you know, you plan your week to 80% capacity. At Invest Ottawa, we're planning to like 60%, because there's so much ad hoc stuff coming in, like tasks that we could plan for. Even though most of us are like over capacity, as you know, in college, you're like, I'm 25 hours over. What do I do? Like,
so it's not just us then?
It's not just you. Oh, crazy. You'd be like, I'm 25 hours over, and it's like, all right, good luck. Like,
that's good. So, what do you do? Are you in any sports or anything? What do you do to kind of replenish your energy and balance life out?
Oh, it's a good question. I think, well, and it's different now because of the pandemic. But you know, living on the country for the summer has been kind of nice. We're just like being outside. In all honesty, like making a drink and smoking a cigar on my back deck has been like, the only thing I can really do to disconnect, and like you're kind of stuck outside for a couple hours in that case. So that's really not a super healthy habit to get into, but that's what I've been doing, or going for walks and stuff like that. Nice. You know, I was playing basketball when I first started at Seo Plus. I haven't really gotten into that since, which is, I think, because I just spent so many years like hardcore training so much and all that good stuff, where I'm like, I'm okay, I'm done with this. So yeah, just getting back outside.
Nice. You know, the cigar thing, I know Eddie would appreciate that.
I just plugged it in so Eddie would be like, yes, good.
He loves it. So, I mean, when you have, you know, at Invest Ottawa, let's say you have, you know, someone come to you with a new program, and, you know, they say they have these specific goals. What's kind of your approach nowadays? Are you kind of drawing on, you know, previous experience? Is it through collaboration? How do you kind of come up with these strategies and implementing
them? The big thing that coming into Invest Ottawa, which was coming off of, you know, working with clients at Seo Plus, was setting up like dashboards and reporting. That was a big thing, because there was nothing in place before, which is fair, because there was a gap in that capacity. So the dashboard reporting is big. A lot of what we do now, which is similar to, you know, what you guys may take in, is like a client who's never done anything, so you have nothing to base it off of, so you're guessing off of benchmarks. Now that I've been here a little over a year, I'm able to look at the dashboards in the past and come up with some, you know, here's what we're expecting from this. But we're still actively transitioning things to have a holistic view of all of our strategies. for me, the big message too, and it probably wouldn't work for actual like clients, but for coworkers, I'm like, let's just wait a month and see what happens with this, and then we'll make adjustments from there.
Yeah.
It is really hard to set the metrics, especially given we're B2B, but like each realm of B2B is so different too. Like tech B2B versus, Main Street versus, again, these multinationals, like it changes so drastically, but still very data driven in how I'm adjusting. But to start, it's just research, kind of how you would do it if you had a client come to you and say, I've never done this before. What should we do? And you're like, this sounds good.
Yeah. And you have a little bit more flexibility, I think, too, right? Generally, like, at least through Invest Auto, I find a lot of the people I talk to, there's less pressure. They're not paying out necessarily. I mean, it depends on what the client is, but they're not paying out thousands of dollars every month from their own pocket. And like, I need return. It's kind of just like, this is a resource we have, and let's see what we can do.
Yeah, exactly. Which like cuts down on my stress levels significantly. Where you do have the flexibility to test things out and see how it works, like because you'll get a funding bucket from a level of government, and in most cases we can measure a pretty good ROI on stuff, which is good. So, we're seeing return on all the investments, but what channel is getting us the best return, and then funding stuff into that. But a lot of the stuff we do too is so, not in a bad way, ad hoc and like, last minute, but we're really firing out quick campaigns as well. So a lot of our objectives are really awareness. But when we get into stuff like bigger programs like Digital Main Street, that's when we're looking at registrations. But my day-to-day is a lot of, we need to promote these 5 things for awareness. Let's just get them out there. So I'm just looking for a good click and driving that down.
Yeah. And like, honestly, for me, like lately, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the less pressure, but like running awareness campaigns, I think it's like often overlooked. It's kind of like, I think with kind of the data-driven analysis and all these things, I think people have almost come too focused on like the CPA or whatever. Like there are other things that are important in marketing, like awareness, brand awareness, all these things. And for me, I mean, they're fun campaigns to run because one, it's pretty easy to put money in, put a good ad and get some impressions, right? And really just focus on getting those click-throughs, getting that traffic. And we found with some of our larger clients who have budget for this, it tends to actually help the other campaigns as well, right?
Yeah, and like if you've got your remarketing on, like it's perfect because you're feeding the top of the funnel with good targeting and good leads. And if you've got a healthy enough budget, you can target multiple audiences or multiple ad sets, or you're using different you're doing a display and then you're also doing the banners and the YouTube ads, so you can also evaluate what's getting the best return on your investment from there, even though it's not direct registration. So I agree, they're fun to run and you can test out a lot of stuff, and you can generate so many clicks for a good cost, right? So you might as well, and then your remarketing is also got an incredible ROI based on the fact that they've already seen you.
Yeah, and like the videos too. Like I mean, we said 5 years ago video was underused. I still think like there's opportunity right there because every time I run a campaign, the results are honestly pretty damn good. And like to get a 5 to 10 cents for a view and get engagement and clicks, all this kind of stuff for like a really small budget. Like I know when we ran it for Accelerate Ottawa, we had like I think it wasn't anything crazy, but maybe I don't know between 5 and 10 registrations for like not a crazy budget. I thought that was pretty good. It's good to see action.
Well, and like not everyone's investing in video still. So they're like, if you've got good content that you're putting out, and we're lucky because we've got the prototyping lab that'll produce our videos for us. So we're not outsourcing necessarily. It's still semi-outsourcing, but like the video, you can repurpose that and use it anywhere too, right? Which is great because you can throw it on Facebook, and this too, where we're seeing better returns on videos on Facebook. The reach is typically a bit higher, which is good.
Yeah. And are you still doing any SEO at all? Any of the moonlighting?
I've got like some side hustle stuff that I do, which is mostly just like consulting and things like that. With Invest Ottawa, like the authority of that site is just there. So like I could put up a page about anything and I feel like it'll just shoot up, at least in Ottawa. Yeah, I've got a couple like little side hustle clients, which have been good to keep me, because that's it's like probably my favorite thing about digital marketing is SEO.
Yeah.
And I'm still teaching it too. Like I teach our pre-accelerator cohort that. I did some digital Main Street workshops on SEO. And my students at Algonquin, I teach SEO like week 1. I'm like, okay, this is the most important. That's what
Forget everything else.
yeah, I don't care. We're learning this. Which I think that talent, and you would know better than me, Brock, but I feel like there's such a lack of talent in SEO that there's an opportunity. Like I always tell them, like, if you guys are interested in what I'm about to teach you, like you can get a job in this, no problem, or even your own clients in this.
Yeah. It's really, you have to have a passion for it though, I feel.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of a hard thing to just be a job. Like it's something you have to like doing it in your own time and do research and try different tools and figure it out. Like it check the rankings. Like it's an addiction.
Yeah, totally. Well, and it was funny. I remember when I paid for my first SEM Rush subscription for my own stuff, I was laughing because I logged in and I was like, I'm not kicking anyone off, and like log in.
It's true. You got to share all those tools. Yeah. Right now it's bad because everyone's remote, right? So different IP addresses keep getting bumped.
You're yelling SEM Rush in your house.
Nobody's there. Oh man. Are you running like Dapper and Daring? I know you founded that. Like, how is that going?
It's good. It's kind of set up to the point, and I think this is where we wanted it to go, where it could be a side hustle that we could be super engaged in and doing stuff on every day, or it could be something that we just leave up. So at this point, you know, all the businesses that are in the directory, it's maintained, which is good too. So, you know, someone's business changes, or you know, something comes out of a business and we need to take them down. But it's at a point where we still get applications in to apply to be in the directory. The issue with everything right now is we want to actually manually screen the businesses, like go in and check out their space.
Yeah.
You know, like, do you have, and it's not required, but, you know, what does your bathroom situation look like? Do you have gender neutral bathrooms, or is it gendered? You know, what kind of services are you offering, and how would that affect the community? So right now it's slow in that we're not adding anyone in, but it's still a good resource for folks in the community. And Ottawa Pride put out their rainbow pages this year too, so those are LGBTQ owned businesses. So it's been good that there's still content going out about, you know, businesses that are either really supportive of the community, that are allies, or, you know, LGBTQ owned businesses. Yeah,
that's good. Well, there's some synergies there. You can kind of work together too, like on different opportunities, right?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it hasn't been keeping me up at nights, which is good. And I traffic and stuff like that, which is for me, like when I, you know, re-up the hosting or whatever every year, as long as I'm seeing people coming in using the site, I'm like, great.
Of course.
Keep it going.
Absolutely. And what about Algonquin? Like, how are things going there with teaching? It's been a few years now. What, 3 years now that you've been going there?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's the transition to online was tough for everyone, but it's still good. I'm excited. Like, I start next week, which is good. We got, I think, 3 or 4 of my old students working with us at Invest Ottawa now, which is cool.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but it's so funny because sometimes they'll like assign a task to me in like my department, and I send it back. I'm like, hey, here it is. Like, let me know if you have any revisions. They're like, well, change this. Okay, like, I get it. You passed my class. Like, what do you want?
That's
but yeah, the remote side of things changed it, because I normally lecture for almost 2 hours, I guess an hour and 40 minutes, and like, being remote, like I always played a clip from The Office at the beginning of class, and like we joke around and I passed around like candy and stuff. Like, it was a chill class to say the least, but not mine. If I'm lecturing for 2 hours, like we're all like, God, please make it stop. Like, it's too much. So trying to figure out how to, you know, what activity could students do that would help them learn SEO or Facebook ads, or, you know, stuff that they can do to keep them engaged during class. So still figuring that out, but I've got like a week.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really tough thing right now. Like, probably, I mean, you're probably feeling it with Invest Ottawa too. Even like we're feeling it. I think a big part of me, anyways, for going to work is the human interaction, being around with joke around with somebody, or talk about sports or whatever. Just those little things that happen as people are with each other, and like being isolated. I mean, I imagine for teaching adds a whole nother barrier of challenge, because people are less engaged, right?
Yeah, and like I could barely name my students when I saw them in person, and I have like no clue. But yeah, when we first transitioned on to online, like none of my students would come on camera. I'd have like 4 people in class with me, and I would just blow through the slides in like an hour, and I'd be like, okay, well, I have nothing else for you. This is a 2-hour class. Have a nice day. So it was tough, and even the different circumstances too, where people now have kids at home. Like, I can see you're at the office because you've got kids running around in the house, right? It's tough.
Exactly. And some people don't have that flexibility too, right? Which is the challenge. So I think that's something like at a macro level, I think our society is going to have to figure out ways to get those pieces that are missing right now back into our just daily lives, right? Like, how can we increase the human touch points, the collaboration, because now probably every time a team member hears from me, it's through Slack, asking them for something for a client, and it's like you don't have those little moments where it's just little fun, lighthearted, jokes or whatever.
Yeah, well, even just like, my coworkers will just like call me up on Teams, and I'm like, I'm focusing on something, but like in the office, like, we joked with like Derek when he had his headphones on and his like sweatband on top. We'd be like, hey, we can't talk to Derek right now, but don't see Derek, so you're like, okay, I'm gonna call you now. Like, I need XYZ.
You have no idea that he's like inundated with the million things or whatever, right?
It's hanging off of him, and he's got a sweatband on.
Oh, I love it. So, okay, I got a couple questions I lined up, so I'll ask a couple quickly. What is something that most people don't know about you?
See, so I was thinking about this last night, and I was like, most people on this call would know most things about me. Because I'm like, I could say something, and Amanda's going to be like, yeah, I knew that, duh.
Maybe not most people here, just most people in general.
In general, in the world, yeah.
The world, Ottawa, maybe.
Yeah. So a lot of people that I work with now were surprised that I grew up in the country, like farm life, because I don't know, maybe I give off city vibes. That was a big surprise to people, like that my parents are entrepreneurs, but like grew up on the farm, all that good stuff. And then a more fun one would be like, anytime I see a clip of Julie Andrews anywhere, I immediately will start crying. But anything else in life, I won't. I don't have tear ducts. But those would be the two. Like,
those are good. I like it. Yeah, country. That's right. Was Stittsville you grew up in?
Yeah, we were close to Munster. Okay. And again, like, that I worked at the go-kart track there for like 10 years.
Corners.
Yeah, even while I was working for you, I was still working there.
Yeah.
It was the closest place of business that I could get a job when I was 12 or 13 or whatever was legal.
That's the dream. That's literally the best job. Like, I would have loved that.
It was cool. Like, when we got paintball in the winter, and you'd be standing out like just in the snow watching people just like shoot each other with paintball. It was not pleasant, but overall in the summer it was a lot of fun to be outside and interacting with kids and just hanging out with other people similar to your age too. So it was a good gig.
Yeah, that's good. And what if you could give yourself, your younger self, any advice? What would it be?
So I will say that I think I'm happy with sort of like the career trajectory I took and how I got to where I am. Advice I'd give my younger self that I still need to take today is like, don't take everything so seriously and don't take yourself so seriously. Which I still like struggle with actively, where everything is like the end of the world to me. Be like waiting to report back on a campaign. You're like, I'm going to throw up, or like, just anything in life. I am always so like serious about stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah, advice for my younger self and my current self to not take everything so seriously. It's not the end of the world.
I like that. Amanda she's interjected with a question. She says, gotta hear a best/funniest Seo Plus story or memory from you.
I feel like Amanda has an idea. Amanda, what's like? Do you have-
It's tough to come up with it on the spot, eh? Like, I can't even like think of one. We're just old now. Amanda, not my interview. She's hoping I come up with something, but honestly, my memory's shot these days. I can't remember yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. It was yesterday.
All right, well, you think about it. We got another one coming from Alex here. Hey, Lindsay, longtime fan. I was wondering if you had any lessons or advice you learned from your time during the Seo Plus startup days that might be helpful for newer team members who came on once the startup era was over. And if not, what's your favorite horror story from your time here? Well, that's a scary one.
Oh, yeah, horror story. And actually, Brock, I'll give a really vague reference now to my favorite memory of Seo Plus, but I have to be vague about it. Do you remember the client telling you to listen here, boy, on the phone?
Yes.
That was good.
Yeah, that's a good one. I would say for me, I always had the most success in sort of a startup era when you weren't afraid to like just learn something on the go. And Brock, you mentioned this at the beginning too, right? Like if you're okay taking in a task and being like, I have no clue how to do this, I'm gonna figure it out right now, and then you just learn and try, and iterate and grow from there. Like that's how you can, in my opinion, get the most value out of your job, and that's how you can really like grow as a person too, versus always needing to like get someone to guide you, which doesn't mean it's a bad thing to get guidance and someone, a mentor and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But taking that time to do more hands-on learning, which is why I'm a big fan of college now too. The best way to do it, not be afraid to break stuff. Like as long as you have a backup, you're fine, right?
That's number one. I'm thinking, I don't know if it was with you actually. I was saying one time when I was in a meeting with a client and accidentally deleted their entire site while in the meeting, and like somehow was able to get out of it alive.
Yeah.
That was scary. But with you, I know one thing that I valued and I respected and kind of related to was the fact that when you, for example, if I had a little chat with you, I wouldn't think anything about it, but you would take it and kind of run with it, right? It's not kind of in one ear out the other. It was really taking it and doing it, and looking for opportunities to add more value, which I think is important, right? Because like, for example, when you're a web designer, I mean, who knew maybe that was the path you want to take, and maybe it was different, but then showing that interest in SEO and then eventually project management, all that kind of stuff, I think was cool, right? It's kind of not being afraid to try new things and help in different ways, right?
Well, and startups are so exciting because you're building the ladder as you're like climbing it, right? Where you're like, hey, I want to go into this, and I show passion in this, and then I'm gonna move over to this, and like the changes in jobs that I had really, I think, set me up to be really well versed in stuff, but also know that like I'm never gonna be an account manager ever. Now I know that, and that's fine. And that wasn't even that the job was bad. It was just like I internalized so much stress with it that I knew, okay, if I'm gonna survive without like drinking heavily, like I need to like, do something else, right? Where you're building strategy or actually on the ground doing the work versus just meeting with the clients.
Yeah, and I think it's tough. Like different personality types deal with different things. Like, so for example, I think maybe certain account managers, if they can like get it all out there, communicate it, and then move on, they're done with it, whereas I'm kind of the same way. I tend to be more like introverted and keep it in, and like it can add up, right?
Yeah, where you're like up at night thinking about a client's campaign. You're like, oh my god, like and we used to go, Derek may still do this, but where we'd walk to the Apple store and like queue up clients' websites where we'd Google their business at the Apple store and click to their website and check the results from there too. We're like, come on, like we gotta get these results up. So yeah, it was a good position for me to be in, to at least know the client side of things. Because when you're on production, you're like, just tell them to go whistle, like tell them I need a week. But having that, it works, Derek. That perspective really helps you become a more well-rounded marketer as a whole and know the priorities and when and where stuff should get done.
Absolutely. Rory, hi. So, like you said earlier, sometimes you're working with clients at Invest Ottawa that don't have any experience with marketing. They have a budget, you have your expertise. How do you get them to buy into your vision? What are some common concerns these clients usually have?
So, hi, Rory. The first thing would be, and I think it's just given the environment that I'm in, but and you guys may see this too, where clients, if you sound really confident in how you're talking and you use a lot of those fun buzzwords, they just buy into whatever you're selling. You'd be like, it's like a ShamWow commercial, but for marketing, where you're like, look at this, and like, yeah, this is amazing. In a lot of cases too, a lot of people I work with are really analytical, so it's playing to that side of things. And if they're not analytical, then playing to creative side of things, or where it will resonate with them to buy in. But common concerns are always, especially when you're dealing with more public side of things versus private. And actually, no, it probably stands for private too. They want to know the results right up front. They're like, okay, well, what am I going to get? And you're like, I don't know what you're going to get. Here's what the benchmarks are for the industry. I can hope that you get this. But again, like having, like you would preach to, like setting those expectations up front as what you can expect and what we're going to do if it goes the wrong way. So stuff you already know, Rory. You already know these things.
Yeah, and I think what you mentioned about, you know, who you're working with, who's the client, and what is that client like? Some people are details people, some people are not. Some people are technical, some people are not. So don't use your techno mumbo jumbo on someone who has no idea what that is, because it's going to go and it's not going to go well, right? I mean, it may go well, but it's not going to go as well as it could, you know, with being on the same page. So yeah, that's really good advice. All right, we got a lot of questions rolling in. Lindsay, they love you. All right, Derek, what have you learned from IO and EDC that you wish you knew at Seo Plus?
It's a good question, Derek. I knew everything at Seo Plus. Well, I think agile was, and we were doing like stand up and stuff, but I think the idea of sprint planning and like prioritizing the tasks, I think that was a big takeaway for EDC that we're now implementing at Invest Ottawa, because then you can really manage, you know, client expectations, and you know, your staff isn't working at midnight every day because you've given them too many tasks that are all due the next day. So I would say those would probably be the main things. Also, IO and EDC both do like personality tests at the beginning. We figure out how your work personality is. And I learned that as an employee, I'm basically dead inside. Like I have no emotional IQ when it comes to people. So it was helpful having that data, especially for people when they report to me, to be like, yeah, just so you know, I may sound really mean. I'm not being mean. I'm just like, I'm dead. Sorry.
Weren't they color coded there? Or is that IO? They do it color coded.
Both are color coded, but EDC you have blocks that you would put on your desk. So if someone came to your desk, you would have like these 4 blocks that would be sitting there, and they would know. So like
were you blue or green or something?
Yeah. So the way you stack them too will show like, do you have any sort of like care for another human? And I didn't. So people would come to my desk and like the red block on top and the blue, which is basically like, let's get things done, and I want to see your analytics. And the other ones would be like, I care about everyone, and like, let's be friends, and like I you know, positivity. Like they didn't hit the threshold for me, so I didn't even have them on my desk. So in a lot of cases, people would come up and be like, I'm good. I'll see you later.
Don't tell me about your personal problems. Where's my report? Right?
100%. I love it. I just want to see the analytics. It makes me, it's bad for.
Oh, Lindsay, I lost you again.
I don't know. I'm muting myself here. But yeah, like it sucks for calls now because I'm not engaging with people. Like, oh, how are you? I'm like, okay, we're talking about this today.
Yeah, you almost have to set aside time for it, right? Like specifically.
Yeah.
Okay, Frank, couple questions. So 2 fan questions and then 2 business questions. So number 1, drink and cigar of choice.
I am really into Blanton's bourbon right now. I've been trying to find it for a while. I just got an email that I now have a source. And then, or an old fashioned. And then my father's cigars, all of them are very good. And there's like a huge cigar shortage right now. So those are great cigars, but they're really long smokes. So like you got to start in the morning and go through the day.
Nice. And who is your favorite NBA player growing up and why?
I really liked, and I did not play that position when I was playing. Like I was basically center, but I really liked Steve Nash, just given he was the Canadian boy. Yeah.
Head coach for the Nets, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was super stoked for that.
Yeah. That's really cool. I think most Canadians can resonate with that, right?
Yeah.
All right, couple business questions. So what characteristics and skills do you learn from playing competitive basketball that let you transfer those characteristics and skills into the business world?
And this goes like, I think the desire to always do better and be better, right? Like you could turn on a marketing campaign for a client and it goes really well and you could just leave it, but being competitive, and Brock, I'm sure you're like this too, like you always want it to get better and find ways to improve it. And even just as a marketer, especially given we're all in digital marketing, the industry is always changing. So similar to how you would train for a sport, you're training to be the best marketer as well. So that self-improvement, whether it's, you know, listening to podcasts or going online every day and researching stuff, I think all of that comes into play to make yourself a good business person and a good marketer overall.
Yeah, that's really important. And what are you doing right now? Are you doing any like courses or training? Is it kind of just picking stuff up? Like
I just taught, it was funny, I just taught a pre-accelerator cohort and someone asked a really technical SEO question that was super like up to date. And I was like, oh my God, like I need to go on and do some like updating of myself. So no courses right now. I'm still always like, I'm going to, Search Engine Journal and all those like normal publications just to see what's going on. But I should do some courses. I should.
I mean, it's been a wild time. Things are never changing. Like, it's changing so much. I mean, last month, I don't know if you saw, there's a big Google bug. I mean, it was like this for a couple of days, and the heart was beating, but it shook out, and we're doing pretty well. So
yeah, my SEM rush was disgusting for. I was like, no.
Close that window for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
Frank had one last question. What would be the biggest takeaway you learned from Brock?
A good one. I would say, and we've already chatted about this too, but like my ability to learn stuff on the fly and make adjustments and like not be afraid to break stuff very much came from you, Brock. Like where you'd be like, oh, I just deleted a client's website in the middle. Do you have a yes? Because I remember panicking about like breaking a client's website and going down the hallway to your office in Queensview and being like, Brock, I don't know what I did. And you'd be like, yeah, it's fine. Whatever. It's up. It's fixed. It's working. And there's always pivoting again and advancing what you know. That was probably my biggest takeaway from you for sure.
That's cool. I like it. And Amanda, what's your disc type?
I have no idea, Amanda.
I actually know this, I think.
What?
Apparently, but it could change over the years.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. So if you know,
I think you're SC, right?
Maybe SC as well. I feel like I'm being diagnosed.
I think it was S. I think I could be wrong though. Eddie's D for sure. Amanda's C. We gotta get these done again. Oh, there you go. CS is my guess. Yeah, Amanda generally guesses pretty well. So
I wouldn't even take the evaluation. I would just go with that. Like, yeah.
All right. And I didn't get to ask this, but are you a big reader at all? You have any books that you want to like share with the team?
No, my inbox is my book. My inbox is my novel.
I feel you.
Like I'll listen to some podcasts if I'm doing something that I can like listen to something, but sitting down and reading is it's tough. It's my inbox or nothing.
Absolutely. I love it. That's cool. Well, I mean, does anyone else have any questions for Lindsay? We'll give him a minute. Somehow I ran through them all like really quickly. I knew that's how it go. I think we're both like,
yeah.
Oh, here we go. Give us a Genco story.
Oh my God. Yes. So many good ones. I think even just starting sales on like Christmas Day were like, those were my favorite Genco moments.
Oh yeah. Like activate at 1 a.m. or something like that.
Like wake up on Christmas Day at whatever time. They were California. So I remember I woke up at like 4 a.m. and turned on a sale for them on Christmas. And like off super late, like 3 the next day, I guess Boxing Day.
Yeah.
I didn't do the Kickstarter, Alexa. That wasn't me. Different department. No.
That was someone else. But I think that was a really cool, just general, I mean, e-commerce, but SEO story is the fact that we were able to take this business, this brand new Shopify store and a really cool, nostalgic brand and go from $0 to $100,000 in sales a month in 3 months.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
Well, and it was cool too, like having a client that was so like collaborative and open and like, oh yeah, whatever you want, go for it. Like,
do your thing.
Yeah, like we'd throw up like the craziest graphics for sales and like we'd have new people like, can you just make a graphic, like whatever you think, 80s. And as long as it looked, up to brand guidelines, you're like, sweet. And you're like, this looks crazy. No, it's great. They love it. Yeah. Such a fun and engaged demographic too, right? Like you post on Facebook and you'd have like 50 comments about just like random stuff. Like I feel like we never got that kind of engagement with other clients.
No, that was the really cool thing is like early on when you're, startup mode and you're dealing with smaller clients and stuff like that. When you're posting on their social media, there doesn't tend to be a lot of engagement unless you're really doing something special, right? And I think that was one of our first kind of clients that really had a cult following. And you'll see Huffington Post article or BuzzFeed article, and people are going bananas over it, right? I think it's a really fun thing to do, be involved in.
Yeah, seeing PR come out of your digital marketing work, because there is such a divide in that too, especially now that I work with communications professionals. Like when you see it holistically, how it all ties together, it's very cool. And when you're starting it, like that's the sweetest thing ever. Jenko was a great ride. I had lots of fun with that one.
Absolutely. And I think that's it is a good lesson that like when you have kind of the freedom or the kind of rope to do whatever you need to do, be more creative and do your thing, really good results can come too, right? When there's trust there.
Yeah, the trust was key in that one. And like having Derek managing that account too, where he had trust in us, where he's not like, what are you doing? What are you putting up? And you're like, no, it's all good. We got 5 sales. These are the themes. This is what we're going to do. Yeah, that was definitely the perfect storm, I would say, where we could do whatever we needed and it generated great ROI.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's really good. It's always good to catch up again. Just on behalf of myself and I know Eddie, we always appreciate everything you've ever done. We'll never forget you, Lindsay. You've been great, and we've had a lot of great times together, and we always appreciate your continued support. Still working together on different projects and stuff like that. So like truly, I think it's impressive. What you've done and what you're doing, and all the good you're doing for the community in different ways. I think it's really great, and really, really proud of you. So
thank you for having me. I will always remember my time at Seo Plus. Like I always felt like at the end of my days I'll be.
Oh, you muted again.
What even happened? I'm not even touching my keyboard. Anyways, always have the best memories at Seo Plus, and like having some Seo Plus folks working with me now too. Like that's basically all we talk about, which is sad, but yeah.
That's it. The Seo Plus family forever.
Yeah. No, I miss all you guys, and miss the hustle and miss the panic as well. But it was, one of my best days.
Absolutely. Well, appreciate it. And if you ever need anything, we're here, and we hope to keep chatting over the years.
Yeah. Got nightmare client right here.
Yeah, right. All right, Lindsay. Take care. Have a really good one.
Thanks, everybody.
See ya.
Thanks, Lindsay. Bye.
Bye.
Miss you.
See you guys.